Hello, I'm Ruth Francis and welcome to Liddon Hill for the penultimate round of the competition car insurance Ford Fiesta Championship, Class A, B and D. Earlier on, Kevin caught up with James Appleby. Let's go and find out what he had to say.
James, just tell us briefly about how you got started in motorsport and how your year's gone.
Well, we started out just kind of watching touring cars, watching the racing, and I suppose it's every kind of boy's dream to get actually into a car and do it yourself. So went to the Autosport show, saw the Daniels Motorsport team, gave us some excellent advice, some tips, and that's how we did it really. Joined with them this year. It's going okay, a couple of podiums, a few drive of the days, so it's all right.
Okay, James, tell us just briefly about your car. What sort of car is it?
It's obviously a Ford Fiesta. It's the Zetec model, 1.4. Not too much power, but handles like a dream. It's kind of like a bit of a go-kart with a roof on it. So it's a perfect entrance car for anyone new to motor racing, really.
Okay, and just glancing behind you, it's very resplendent with lots of sponsorship. Primarily, I see Yorkshire Bank and B Modern fireplaces. Do you get a lot of support from sponsors?
We do, yeah. Obviously, B Modern have been a great help with a company that my dad works for, so they've helped us a lot. Yorkshire Bank, I'm actually employee of as well, so it's great that they've jumped on board. They're obviously very, very keen to sponsor all types of sports. Because they've got Alistair Cook, which does the cricketing, probably one of the best England cricketers that there is, and they've helped me a lot as well with the support this year. Okay,
well, perhaps you can just tell us how your season year is progressing. Where are you in the standings at the moment, and how have you done this weekend at Liddon Hill?
Well, currently I'm sat in 7th place. Obviously, there's a couple of people behind me, but Liddon Hill's going okay. Never been here before. It's a very challenging circuit. There's not much time for resting, but it's going okay. Qualified 4th. Hopefully, grab a podium this weekend would be a top result, really.
Well, that's good. And do you think the weather's going to play a part in your racing today? It's cloudy at the moment and some very low clouds. It's been raining overnight. Will that affect you if it rains today?
Not really. I either want a really dry race or a really wet race. Either one will be absolutely fine. So that's absolutely fine by me.
Brilliant. We'll be watching, see how you go off this weekend. Best of luck, and we hope to see you do really well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Peter has got some exciting news to tell us today. Peter, tell us about this brand new car making history today.
Well, it's the new Class D car, which is the 2009 to modern day Zetec S Fiesta. We obviously thought that it's time we moved on with the Fiesta Championship to a slightly newer car, and the opportunity came up of us buying the car at the right sort of money, and we basically built it up so that we can get the rules and the regs all ready for next year.
There seems to be a lot of excitement about this car in the paddock already. Is there any news you can tell us about where this car's going next year and who's going to be driving it?
Yes, we actually took a deposit late last night. James Appleby is going to be the first one to book himself in for next year for a Class D car.
Do you feel this will be the start of a series of builds for Class D Fiesta Zetec S's in the Fiesta Championship?
Well, we've also got 2 other people we're talking to sort of want us to build the new car for them for next year, and it's got to be a step forward, I think, because obviously the poor old 1800 is, back in the 1990s, 91, 92, still going strong, but you just need new blood, I suppose, and a new type of car, and it suits. The ST came in 3 years ago, and I think it's time now we come in with a new car.
Here's how Class A stands coming into the round. John Langridge already champion, but a battle for second between Nik Barton and Dave Elsom. Ian Scruton's in 4th place from William Torreson, and Zena Cooper in 6th. Class B hoping to wrap things up is Scott Baines. Ken Bateman 2nd with Nik Barton a close 3rd. Then Claire Kemp, Michelle Edwards and Kevin Stirling rounding off the hot half dozen for the Bs. Clouds overhead and the grid looks like this. Scott Baines on pole with David Elsom alongside, then Vincent van Paemel and Nik Barton on row 2. James Appleby and Kevin Stirling on the next row. Row 4, Claire Kemp and Keith Chapman. Then it's Ian Scruton, and on the outside, Pete Daniels. Great to see the Zetec S, the Mark 8 Fiesta, making its debut. Didn't do a qualifying lap, but came out and did the mandatory laps this morning. So starting off the back of the grid, great to see the multi-talented Pete Daniels, very talented driver, very talented preparation man as well. We'll see how well that goes. But from the outside of the front row, Scott Baines, the Class B car, nips in front. Problem for Ian Scruton at the back of the field, who didn't get away at all well. Scruton with problems then, so we'll see whether he can recover. Now, what was the problem there? He's got it going, which is good news, albeit at the back of the field. But Scott Baines leading from Dave Elsom. Nik Barton is the man chasing Scott Baines this weekend in the chair. Oh, Barton nearly throws it all away. A little bit damp, I think, as they go into Devil's Elbow for the first time. So we've got a Class B car leading. The blue car is Class B as well. Class B, the 1400cc Zetec. Class A, the 1800 SI Fiesta. So the Class B's with a little bit more power. That's not going to work necessarily around here, as you can see with the two Class B cars, first and second at the moment. There's Scott Baines in the distance as we go on board with Nik Barton. Nik third in the championship coming into this round in terms of Class B. Scott Baines the championship leader. Ken Bateman second in the championship. Nik third, then Claire Kemp fourth. So Claire will do well, teammate of Scott Baines. And Nik Barton very keen to try and improve and maybe get up into second position as we look at Kevin Stirling. Oh, coming under a bit of pressure there from James Appleby. Was that contact between the two? Appleby 8th in the championship standings coming into this round. I was running through the Michelle Edwards 5th, Kevin Stirling in 6th position, Keith Chapman 7th. So close racing going on between those guys and indeed girls, because we've got the 32 car of Claire Kemp, who is the last of that trio. Stirling just ahead of that little bunch at the moment. You can see the lead trio in the race up ahead. This is the view from the young Yorkshireman James Appleby that we heard from at the top of the programme, and great that he's getting in the mix and ordering one of those Class D cars. It's a lovely bit of kit, the Class D. It's just absolutely super. I mean, the championship, the cars that are in the championship look wonderful anyway, but it just adds that extra spice, and it'll be interesting to see how well the car goes with Pete Daniels at the wheel this weekend. At the moment we're looking at the battle between James Appleby and Kevin Stirling. Stirling hanging on to it, the man from Norwich. Appleby, as you heard, travelling all the way down from Yorkshire. But we're going to go back to the lead trio, and is anybody going to be able to beat Scott Baines this weekend? Dave Elsom had the better qualifying, 50.019, 8 tenths quicker. There's Pete Daniels. He's passed a couple of cars already in the new Mark 8, the Class D car, on board with Keith Chapman, 7th in the championship. Now Ken Bateman not here this weekend, so we could well expect Nik Barton, who's running second in class at the moment, to overtake that position in the championship. This is the onboard view from Keith Chapman. As you can see, the new Class D car up ahead of him. And again, the object of multi-class racing means that the levels of ability and speed sometimes level themselves out between Class A and B, probably more so at Liddon, which, being a tight circuit, means that there's parity between the classes. Parity, of course, a word that we've heard used a great deal by certain people moaning in the touring cars this year, but it's genuine here. We've got the two separate classes, two different engine sizes, and here the car's pretty much on par, and we've seen some very good action between these two classes over the course of the season. On board we go down into Dover Slope. A little bit of a break in the clouds. Let's hope we don't... Oh, and there is some moisture coming on the windows there. Look at the windscreen. We're starting to get... so I think we're probably under one of those clouds and not under the blue sky at the moment. And that's a little bit of a worry. So on go the wipers for the first time. I wonder if this is going to catch anybody out. Conditions not wet, but equally not dry as well. We'll see whether Kevin Stirling's going to get past. Stirling in the 53 car, then it's James Appleby, Claire Kemp, who we were riding on board with down behind those guys, and this is the scrap for fourth position at the moment between these three cars. Kevin Stirling holding sway at the moment, and still out front Scott Baines, who's trying to add another win to overall win, which would be good for him, to the string of wins that he's had so far this year. And Scott is in with a chance of sewing up the championship this weekend. So Kevin Stirling carries on. Stirling, of course, the man who currently sits 6th in the championship. James Appleby will be trying to close in on him. Claire Kemp is down behind them. All Class B runners. Claire 4th in the table. Very consistent race. Had some very good results this year. We go back on board with James Appleby. Up at the moment leading Class B, of course, it's Scott Baines from Nik Barton. And then Kevin Stirling at the moment 3rd in class. So this is potentially the battle for the Class B podium.
With so much racing going on in the world, you'd have to be a four-headed monster to keep up with it all. Luckily, we have that. Join Peter Keane, Bill Wood, Errol Tucker, and their guest driver analyst each week for an opinionated look at the news coming out of the racing world. Remember, it's GoRacingTV.com for all your racing and video needs.
This is the scrap for the lead, and indeed Class B. And up the inside, Nik Barton's having a go up the inside now. There's a little bit of paint trading there, so we've got some touring car style racing going on. And Nik Barton putting Scott Baines under big pressure. Now Baines, I mentioned that he's could possibly wrap up the championship this weekend, but the one thing he won't want to do is have a DNF. It won't necessarily affect drop scores. At the moment, Scott Baines drops a 14-point score, which was, now let me see, that was at Brands Hatch, a 14-point score, when it was Nik Barton that took both the race wins. So in actual fact, if Scott gets a non-finish, it's not going to do his championship chances any harm, because he'll then be dropping no points, and that means that he won't have to worry too much. Nik Barton's all over the back of him at the moment. Barton, who really does seem to hit form when this championship comes to a Kent venue, and he's probably looking forward to the Brands Hatch finale, because remember he took a double win in Class B. John Langridge winning Class A in those ones, and John making his debut in Class C this weekend at Liddon Hill. So the success of John Langridge in this class means that he's moved on, so we're a driver down in John Langridge. But the overall entry, classes A, B, C and D, very, very healthy indeed, which is great to see. What a cracking scrap those two drivers are having, as we're going to go back now and see Claire Kemp being closed in on by Pete Daniels in the 61 car. So the Class D car closing in on one of the Class B runners, and Pete Daniels making very good progress with the car. David Elsom still not too far behind in the Class A Zetec, sorry, the Class A SI machine. The two Zetecs leading him around North Bend and heading down Hairy Hill once again. Scott Baines looks like he's on for another outright win. He took one at Rockingham in the wet. What a cracking race that was. And Scott has been hounded absolutely all the way by Nik Barton. These two very, very evenly matched. Qualifying wise, Scott doing a 50.9, Nik Barton 51.2, so not too far away. And in terms of the laps in this race, Scott Baines has posted the fastest lap of the race so far. And here comes Nik Barton down the inside. Looks, bang! Into the side of Scott, but he recovers well. Scott Baines recovers. Nik Barton's got through on the inside. Well, it's not unexpected to see contact at the devil's elbow, but Scott Baines has dropped right the way back now into 3rd place, where he's got his nose back in front to 2nd now, because David Elsom, I think, has ceded 3rd position. Now, whether we're going to get a replay of that moment of banging from Nik Barton or not, I don't know, and it will certainly be interesting to gauge the driver's reaction. But we are starting to see raindrops on the windscreen, so that's going to make conditions difficult. And to be absolutely fair to both drivers, Devil's Elbow is a place on the circuit where sometimes it's very, very difficult to avoid contact if you're gunning for the lead, which is what Nik Barton was doing. But Nik Barton now into the class lead. Scott Baines forcibly down into 2nd place. in class and overall. We're looking at David Elsom's onboard camera. David, the 40-year-old from Cambridge, still leading Class A. He's got a very good lead actually over the second place car in Class A, Ian Scruton. He's got about half a dozen cars or so between him and the second place man, so no pressure at all on David Elsom. All he's got to worry about is maybe getting involved in a race between these two, but having seen that bit of contact, maybe that's something he'll err away from, because he won't want to interfere with the Class B battle, which crosses the line once again. Remember the format for these meetings in the competition car insurance Ford Fiesta Championship, 2 20-minute races, so you get guaranteed time on circuit, which is a great format. And Scott Baines at the moment trying to make the most of this and trying to close in on Nik Barton. Scott Baines has had the fastest lap of the race overall, 50.713, and here he comes. He's the chaser at the moment, the white car with the checkered roof, looks to the outside. Nik Barton's best lap of 50.894, so Nick not too far away, but Scott generally and consistently the faster man. Little wipe from the wipers as they come down into paddock. Barton's hanging on to it again, and let's see what Scott Baines can do. So head through again. This is the view from Scott Baines. You can see the camera starting to mist up a little bit. Wipers on again. The driver's got plenty to think about. Scott Baines has got loads to think about, and you can see carrying a little bit more speed through Chessons down onto the Dover slope, and he's going to shape up for a pass. Is it going to be down into Devil's Elbow? He looks to the outside line, brake lights on from the car in front. Nik Barton's hanging on to it at the moment. They turn in. Scott Baines, there isn't room for him to pile down the inside there, so he's going to have to try and work it out somewhere else on track. They're pretty much using the same line as they come out, but now Scott Baines takes a wider line up towards the hairpin. Is that going to give him more momentum out of the hairpin and down the hill? You can see the rain now starting to affect the camera up at North Bend. Baines wide into paddock. Just get the feeling here, Nik Barton's going slightly the more defensive of the two, and there is room on this track to overtake, so whether that's going to compromise his speed over the next couple of laps remains to be seen. He's got the inside line. He knows that the inside is a potential pass, but also the outside is a potential pass as well. If Scott Baines can draw level and hang on, because he'll find the inside line when they come down to the elbow. No, he hasn't. He's dropped back in behind Nik Barton, who still maintains the lead. Baines is going to have a look down the inside, and he just can't quite do it. Nik Barton, I think, well, Scott Baines was desperately trying to outfox him, but it didn't work, and Nik Barton hangs on to lead position and potentially another win. Up into North Bend they go again. David Elsom keeping that watching brief, back in third place. Scott Baines, we know, has got the pace. Nik Barton, these wipers seem to be working a little bit harder at the moment, so maybe Nick's just decided to leave those on. Don't seem to be any splashes going on in the puddle there down at paddock. But the race leaders come onto another lap. Scott Baines, look at this, very high and wide, coming into Pilgrims from along the Canterbury Straight, up into Chessons again. And make no mistake, Scott Baines wants to take another win here. So Baines looking at the inside line. Last time it was the outside line. Perhaps he's thinking that if he gets a sweep up the hill, he might be able to do something. But Nik Barton going wide as well. Barton's really keeping an eye on his mirrors, isn't he? No question about that at all. And probably goes the wider of the two here. Here comes Baines again, looks to the outside line as they come up into the hairpin. Still the rain in evidence on the camera up there. Wider line from Scott Baines as they come out of North Bend. Down Harry Hill once again. Closing stages of this race, and a dive down the inside at paddock, and that caught Nik Barton unaware, and Baines is through. Barton's going to try and chop back in, but it doesn't work for him. What a great manoeuvre from Scott Baines down into paddock on the inside, and Nik Barton's not finished yet. Is Barton going to have another go as they go into Druids? He seems to into Devil's Elbow. Seems to have been a little bit quicker. Here we go, on board with Nik Barton. Wide line out of Chessons, down the Dover slope. He's looking at the outside line rather than the inside. Is he going to switch over? No, he's still going for that outside line. Flicks to the inside line now, but Scott Baines has got it covered. Great driving from Baines. And here they come up the hill, and this time it's Nik Barton who's going to take that wide line into North Bend to see if he can gain more momentum coming down the hill and maybe go for a flick down on the inside as they come into paddock. We're looking back, there's Kevin Stirling in the 53 car, running well ahead of 32 Claire Kemp. Up ahead of them is James Appleby. Pete Daniels in the Class D car as well. He's having a good run and running well. So Kevin Stirling, is Kevin going to be passed here? Looks like Claire's trying to shape up to have a pass, but I think Kevin Stirling's going to hang on to position. But here come the race leaders on their last lap, and it's still Scott Baines, Nik Barton right behind him. What a ding-dong this pair have had right the way through this 20-minute race here at Liddon Hill. David Elsom's going to win Class B. There he is with the Cross of St George proudly on top of the car. It's going to be another class win for him. That's going to help him up towards reclaiming second position in the championship. But down past the paddock for the last time, down Hairy Hill into Paddock Bend. It's going to work out as a 24-lap race. There is the checkered flag, and Scott Baines takes the win. Nik Barton in second place from David Elsom. James Appleby is going to take a podium in Class B. He's going to be happy with that, and here's confirmation of the result. Baines winning B from Nik Barton. Elsom third and wins Class A. James Appleby gets a podium in B. Claire Kemp in fifth from Pete Daniels, sixth position on his debut for the Class D Fiesta. Then Ian Scruton seventh, his second in Class A. Kevin Stirling in eighth place from Keith Chapman and Vincent van Paemel in 10th place.
So I'm now joined by the winner, Scott Baines. Congratulations, Scott. Are you happy with that? You must be.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was quite a good race. Got into first at the beginning and held that for probably first half. We had Nik Barton caught up with us, had a bit of a tussle, come out on top in the end, so where we need to be.
And so overall then, can you just tell us a bit more about where you are overall?
I believe now if I can come probably third or something like that in the next race in the championship should be mine, if I've done my maths right.
And you'd be happy with that, of course?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, we obviously go out and go for the win. The race at the end of the day, so we need to get the car repaired and go out and have another go.
When you say repaired, what are you meaning? Elaborate.
We've got a bit of an oil leak and taken a bit of a knock to the steering, so the steering wheel's a bit bent and tracking's probably out, so just a little bit of alteration.
Okay, but nothing too serious. It's good.
No, more oil would be fine.
Okay. Well, good luck. Hope it goes really well, and hopefully we'll get to speak to you again very soon.
Thank you.
With another congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
David Elsom joins me now. Now, well done. That was first in class, third on track for you there. Yeah. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I am happy with that. I had a poor start, which was the first one of the season. I've always actually started quite well, and it was unfortunate that Scott and Nik just jumped ahead of me, and I couldn't catch them, to be honest. And there was a good battle. I think my in-car footage will be quite good.
Any swear words we need to be cutting out of there?
Not from me, but I'm sure that there was some in front. There was quite exciting, good racing from both of them, really. So. Yeah, it's good to watch.
And overall then, I mean, today's been a little bit changeable. We've got the lovely sunshine now, but it's been a little bit of a nightmare, and people have been sort of commenting it's been quite tricky to decide what to go for. So, I mean, are you happy with what you decided?
Slicks was right. It was light rain, but it's been on and off the whole day, quite heavy. And I think coming into this round at Liddon, I've never raced here before, and having dropped third in the championship to my teammate Nik, I needed to catch him back on points. I needed 2 poles, 2 wins, and 2 fastest laps to lead him by 1 point going into the final round. So there's quite a lot of pressure today, so it's going well so far.
And I saw Nik was actually cheering for you. You'd be glad to know.
That's good of him.
Well,
cheers,
half
Nik.
and half.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. No, it's good. We're a good team, actually, and I think, you know, we know that it's second or third between us. It's just like some bit of you know, team battle, really, as to who gets second place.
State your desires.
Speed, adrenaline, competition.
Calculating. Result in 3, 2, 1. The National Auto Sport Association. Start here.
Welcome back to Liddon Circuit in Kent for the anti-penultimate race of the season. Pole position Scott Baines with Nik Barton alongside. Row 2 David Elsom and James Appleby. Then it's Claire Kemp and Pete Daniels on the third row of the grid. Row 4 Ian Scruton and Kevin Stirling. And on the fifth and final row Keith Chapman and Vincent van Paemel. Scott Baines hoping to make it a double this weekend, and you heard him say in the interview with Ruth that he's looking to try and sew up the championship, and a win in this one would do it. If the results are repeated, then we're going to see Nik Barton move up into second position in the championship ahead of Ken Bateman. In actual fact, Ken Bateman 154 coming into this round, and Nik Barton 145. So Nik, in fact, already into second on the maths. So he'll be consolidating second position as the starting lights go on here at Liddon, and it's a good start. Again, Scott Baines gets away very well. Dave Elsom this time has a much better start, but Kevin Stirling and Ian Scruton get involved. They're over the grass. Stirling should be able to recover from there. Off he goes. This is the view from Keith Chapman. Stirling, you can see, just turned in and touched one of the other cars and disappeared off onto the grass. I think he's recovered okay, which is good news. But the race leaders are away, and it's Scott Baines from Nik Barton. Then in third place, David Elsom. Up into fourth position has gone Pete Daniels. And Pete now ahead of James Appleby. I think it might have been Claire Kemp that touched Kevin Stirling. Stirling went across the track, and he's hopefully going to recover and join in, but as you can see, he's lost a lot of ground. Great to see the zero car there of Vincent van Paemel, a newcomer who's come from over in Europe to race. As we go on board with Claire Camp, you can see the sun starting to go down a little bit, making visibility difficult for the drivers with the sun in their eyes at certain parts of the circuit. Also doesn't help the light in terms of our onboard cameras, but Claire's doing a grand job at the moment. Took fourth position in class in race number 1. That was behind James Appleby, and she'll be hoping to overtake James in this one, but she's got a Class A car in front of her at the moment. Van Paemel doing a pretty good job from the back of the field in the start in this one. Now Pete Daniels in fourth place. He's going to try and close up on David Elsom. Let's see what Pete can do. This is really good testing for the Class D car. Its first run, and two really good 20-minute test sessions for him, and Pete of course will be dead keen to bring it home to the end and bring it up as high as possible in the honours. As we look at the onboard from Nik Barton, who's running well. Good race that we saw from Nik in the first race of the day, and interesting to see Scott Baines' reaction. Wasn't too worried about that contact they had at the Devil's Elbow. You know, he thought that was part and parcel of the racing. You get a little bit of rubbing from time to time, and he's a gritty racer, so he'll deal with that in his own way, which is what he did. Nik Barton still having a go, but Barton's got to be careful because David Elsom, he's very close in third place. This is the view from David, the man we spoke to just before the break. Another class win for him, fastest lap, and as you heard, he's got to repeat that again to get ahead of his teammate Nick Tiley, who's here supporting and watching him here, as Nik Barton tries to look down the inside line as they go into Pilgrims. Canterbury Straight goes slightly out to a left-hand curve, and then the right-hander at Pilgrims continues to sweep round to the right into Cheston's Drift, this mile-long circuit at Liddon. And David Elsom, you know, for sure wants to take an overall win, but he doesn't want to mess around with the guys that are dicing over first and second in the championship in Class B. Nik Barton taking a wide line out again, dives to the inside. He really is harrying, but Elsom's coming up to join the mix now. Wide line from David Elsom. He's going to have a look in his mirrors and maybe see Pete Daniels. I'm just having a sneaky peek in the mirror and see if I can see Pete Daniels behind him. He's running in fourth place at the moment, and all eyes are very much on that wonderful looking Class D car, the newest model Fiesta. As you heard from Pete at the start of the show, came out in 2009, and there'll start to be a few of those available now to bring down into racing at a reasonable cost. And there is Pete Daniels, the fourth of those cars, chasing down. It's a great livery that he's put on the car as well. It looks the absolute business. And we've also seen the Fiesta Junior Championship in evidence this weekend with a couple of runs for the boys, and hopefully we'll get some girls in the championship as well, and that's going to be running next year, and I think it's going to be a preferred option for certain people, you know, in terms of junior racing. Great looking cars, a good championship. Hopefully we'll get to see them on the box as well. Vincent van Paemel running well, fifth position at the moment behind Pete Daniels, which is good. So he's made some very good progress up the order from the back in race number 1. Now where's Kevin Stirling? Is Kevin rejoined? Let's see if we can have a look. Can't see at the back a shot at the moment. We'll try and let you know in terms of Kevin Stirling's recovery. He did get going again, so yes, he is out on track, but he's back in last position. and he'll be trying to hunt down the tail enders to try and get a handle on possibly Ian Scruton as well, who's down towards the back. But pretty much business as usual for these two, Scott Baines and Nik Barton, still hard at it. Barton had the lead briefly in race number 1 for a couple of laps. I wonder if Scott Baines is going to hang on in this one. So Scott Baines still in the race lead. What about lap times in this? Now, interestingly, we've got now Dave Elsom was really beginning to sort himself out. Remember, we had damp conditions in race 1 and the wipers were going on, and that played into the hands of the Class B cars a little bit more, the lesser powered cars. But David Elsom's lapping a little bit quicker in this one than Scott Baines, and they're all in the 51s, Class A, B and D, all in the 50s. And here comes Nik Barton challenging for the lead. Nik Barton looking around the outside as they come into the Devil's Elbow, but it doesn't work for him. Scott Baines certainly is going to know that he's been in a pair of races this weekend, and up the hill they go, and Nik Barton around the outside. If he can make it stick, it's going to be a long way round. He's going to chop back in. That's the sensible thing to do, because it's the inside line that beckons as they come down to paddock. Let's see whether that's going to pay off for him, and Scott Baines is wise to it. Tight line from Scott Baines. David Elsom closing up. Vincent from Paemel not too far behind. David Elsom running second in Class B. He's having a good run. That's the black car with the red bumpers, and he's running in 5th place at the moment, second in Class B. And here comes David Elsom up into the mix. Elsom's going to have a little nibble here at Nik Barton for 2nd position overall. Pete Daniels keeping a watching brief at the moment in Class D. Well, I thought we might have got a challenge from David Elsom there, but he just didn't seem to have enough. Of Barton takes a very wide line out of the elbow. Pete Daniels, he's closing in, isn't he, on David Elsom, Pete Daniels? And bear in mind that Pete started the first race at the back of the grid. In the race format, of course, you qualify for position in race 1 in the normal motor racing way. The grid for race 2 is decided on your finishing position from race 1, and if you look across at the back of the circuit there, we just saw Ian Scruton and Kevin Stirling rejoining, and this is Claire Kemp dicing with James Appleby. So Kemp and Appleby busy dicing over 6th position at the moment. Back we go to the race lead. Nik Barton still there, the first 4 cars involved in the mix. Vincent van Paemel, and just behind them you can see the Claire Kemp scrap going on. So top 4 go through, and Pete Daniels goes through on the inside of David Elsom. We've got a Class D car up onto an overall podium position. A little bit of history being made here in the Competition Car Insurance Ford Fiesta Championship. Absolutely superb stuff from Pete Daniels. Absolutely no doubting his driving ability at all, and he'll be getting every last ounce of potential out of that Class D car, but up into a podium. What a great debut for this car. It looks absolutely fabulous, doesn't it? There it is in 3rd place, and chasing the 2 Class B machines that are fighting it out for the race lead. Nik Barton goes for the outside line again, cat and mouse between these two. David Elsom still there in 4th place. Vincent van Paemel is in 5th place at the moment, with 6th place James Appleby still fending off Claire Kemp. So it's all close wherever you look. Down behind them, Kevin Stirling and Ian Scruton, after their moment off the circuit on the opening lap, are dicing it out for 9th place. So wherever you are, there's someone to dice with. Now, I think sadly we've lost Keith Chapman out of the race. Keith retiring on lap 11, but David Elsom in 4th position now, still leading his class. He's still got the fastest lap in class as well, 51.065 seconds for David Elsom, who comes out of Chesson's Drift. And I wonder how many more of those Class D cars he's going to see. I wonder if he'll stay with Class B for next year and join us for another season if he can take 2nd place in the championship, maybe go for the championship, the Class B championship title, which of course has been won by John Langridge this year, unbeaten in class and moving up into the Class Cs, as I told you in part 1 of the programme. Now Van Paemel coming under pressure from James Appleby, who's looking around the outside. This is brave stuff from the young Yorkshireman, all the way down from Ripon. Now down the hill, Van Paemel on the inside line in the 0 car. Is he going to hang on to position? Appleby decides that the outside line at paddock, there might not be grip there. Switches back to the inside. Claire Kemp's coming through as well. Claire Kemp's challenging for position, and James Appleby, has he left the door open? Here comes Claire, and she's through. Great manoeuvre from Claire Kemp. Fires the car down the inside of James Appleby. And I think Appleby maybe perhaps lost a bit of momentum on his challenge down from Paddock, but let's take absolutely nothing away from Claire Kemp. Brilliant manoeuvre, through on the inside, saw the gap, went for it, and more importantly has kept the momentum going down into the Devil's Elbow and is chasing Van Paemel. That was a great manoeuvre from the lady racer. One of several lady racers that we've got in the championship. Sina Cooper, of course, competes in Class A. Class B, Claire Kemp, and we've got Joanne Eason, who competes in the ST Class C as well, and very much a level playing. What a great manoeuvre from Claire, and you can see James Appleby behind her. She's still got to try and deal with Vincent Van Paemel. As we look at the front runners up at the sharp end, we've still got Pete Daniels in third place, and hanging on is Scott Baines to the lead with Nik Barton in second place. And Pete Daniels has got a bit of a conundrum here, because if he's got the pace, and let's look at the lap times as Nik Barton goes to the outside line again, side by side into the elbow.
The club, an amateur racer. Here at GoRacingTV, we salute you. And we want to give you all the tools and info to compete with the best. Find out how to do it all from your own garage by watching our Club Racer and Autocrosser shows. GoRacingTV.com, supplying all your video racing needs.
We'll turn our attention to championship points. If things stay the way they are, then there will be 44 points between Nik Barton, who moves up to second this weekend in the championship, and the man who leads the Class B race and the championship, of course, Scott Baines. 44 points is an insurmountable gap, because there are only 36 points left after this race in the double-header at Brands Hatch. 18 points maximum for each race. You get 1 point for pole position, 1 point for fastest lap, and 16 points for a race win. So we may well see the championship going the way of Scott Baines provisionally, as I say, subject to all the usual checks, but I'm sure everything will be above board for Scott Baines, who's closing in now on Pete Daniels. He's getting away from the chasers and starting to focus on the Ford in front. A Ford Focus, you might say, apart from the fact that this is a Fiesta Championship, of course. There they come out of Devil's Elbow again. David Elsom in third place. So we've got Class D leading Class B, leading Class A, and then Class B again. So we're not too worried at the moment about the way points are going to be scored in the various classes. That seems to be cut and dried as we go on board with Scott Baines again. Through Paddock, turns into the very sweeping right-hander. Comes out wide. The grass there, when it's wet, that can really catch people out, and Baines doing a superb job. Brake lights on from the Class D car in front. Into Pilgrims. The undulations of this circuit absolutely superb, and you can't argue with very difficult, of course, to get new racing facilities built in the UK, and when you do, none of them really match the natural undulations that you get at places like Liddon Hill, places like Brands Hatch. Magnificent circuit. The only circuit, I think, in my opinion, that comes close is the new Anglesey circuit, which has got some superb ups, downs, twists and turns designed by circuit owner Richard Peacock. That Liddon delivers character in droves, and it's been, as I said, maintained by the Duran family, and thank goodness for the Duran family looking after it for us and giving us this wonderful venue to put on some great racing, which we're seeing now. And Scott Baines very much after the lead, so Pete Daniels still in lead position in this brand new car, which, as we heard, has been sold to James Appleby, who's running down in sixth position, so I bet he can't wait to get his hands on that motor for next year. Appleby, you can see a little bit further, Claire Kemp's lost a bit of ground, and James have lost a bit of ground over the last couple of laps, but Pete Daniels still continues to lead. How good is it going to be to see more of these Class D cars in 2012? We're going to see the Fiesta Juniors as well. This is a championship which maintains its momentum, very much in the ascendancy, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of drivers choosing to come and race here. Down they come, down Harry Hill again, and Scott Baines putting pressure on Pete Daniels. These two very much hard at it into Paddock, and Baines This is a sight he's not seen before today. The rear end of a Class D car. What's he going to do? Goes through the slight right hand. It's not a twist, it's just a bare left along Canterbury Straight into the right-hander at Pilgrims. And Scott Baines, I think, is starting to work out where he might be able to make a manoeuvre and pass the Class D car for perhaps another overall win. He's taken one so far this weekend, took one at Rockingham earlier on in the season in wet conditions, and can he repeat that here? Are we going to see Pete Daniels take an overall win on his debut in this car? Dab on the brakes from Daniels, very efficient in getting the car slowed down, up into North Bend, out of North Bend, down Hairy Hill they go. You can just see on the exit there, on the left of shot, the entrance into what is the pit lane, where the drivers leave the circuit, but not a real pit lane as such. Now past the start-finish line, where all the officials and commentary team are here at Liddon Hill. Round to the left, Canterbury Straight, down into Pilgrims again. Scott Baines putting the pressure on. It's just exactly a mile around the Liddon circuit, so a tight, short circuit, the shortest one that we visit over the course of the championship. And we go on a little bit longer circuit, but not too far away at Brands Hatch for our last round. And the guys are going to be at it all again. David Elsom closing up in third place. Nik Barton, therefore, is there too in fourth place. Claire Kemp still running third in Class B. Fifth overall with James Appleby sixth and third. Fourth in class at the moment. So it's going to be, if things stay the way they are, one each. And here comes Scott Baines. That's where he passed Nik Barton in race one, down the inside at paddock, wide line out, and retakes the lead. And now can David Elsom do anything about it? Elsom's going to try and follow through into Pilgrims, and he's got through. Great manoeuvre by David Elsom, a relative newcomer to racing, past someone with loads of experience. They're still side by side, and Pete Daniels is fighting for position on the outside. That's going to convert to the inside as they come down to Devil's Elbow, but David Elsom's hard on the brakes, and I think he's made it through and around. Yes, he has. Now, of course, if that was a battle for class, I think Pete Daniels would probably scrap a little bit harder than that. But what a great performance. And here comes Nik Barton, who's going to come and join in as well. Is Pete Daniels going to let Nik Barton? No, he's not going to let him through. He's going to have a clean and fair race of it. Nik Barton's positioning himself down the inside, mindful of what he saw Scott Baines do on the early one. Pete Daniels grabs the line cleanly, fairly, still in third position. And Nik Barton at the moment, you've got to say, perhaps being denied a stab at the race lead, but this is what it's all about. It doesn't matter what class you're in, you can go for it, and I'm sure everybody's going to be absolutely buoyed with that new Class D car leading the race. But out front we've got a Class B machine looking for a third overall win of the year. Scott Baines, David Elsom's chasing him, and Elsom's trying to close up as they come down into Devil's Elbow for the last time. On the brakes, down the gears, turn in. Now it's up Hairy Hill for the last time. Elsom's a little bit far back too, maybe 3 lengths down as they come up into North Bend. Brakes, gears, turn in again, all neat and tidy for Scott Baines. He's hardly put a wheel wrong all weekend, if at all, from qualifying through to the races. He is going to be crowned the champion provisionally if he crosses the line in first position. Through paddock for the last time. Scott Baines there, out of paddock, checkered flag beckons, and 2011 Class B champion Scott Baines across the line from second position. That goes to David Elsom. Pete Daniels is on the podium. Incredible for Class D. Nik Barton in fourth position, his confirmation of that. Claire Kemp takes third place in Class B and gets the better of James Appleby, who comes home fourth in B and in sixth position overall. Seventh goes to Vincent from Paemel, and the two guys sparring on the first of the opening lap, Ian Scruton and Kevin Stirling, coming home 8th and 9th respectively. Championship points look like this. Class A, John Langridge, as we know, the champion. David Elsom back into second by 1 point from teammate Nick Tiley. Ian Scruton third ahead of William Torreson and Zena Cooper. In Class B, Scott Baines the provisional champion from Nik Barton, now second ahead of Ken Bateman. And Claire Kemp still there in fourth place from Kevin Stirling and James Appleby in sixth.
So back again with me, Scott Baines, winner again. You must be feeling really happy right now.
Yeah, we did. We had a bit of a battle with Nik Barton right throughout the race. Eventually managed to get one of the 1800s in between us, which allowed me to stop watching my mirror and get on with the job slightly. Also, Pete Daniels coming through in the new Class D car and was overall in the lead for a time. So once I managed to stop watching my mirrors, when Nik Barton got a little bit held up, was able to kind of regroup and concentrate on catching Pete again. I mean, obviously, it wasn't necessarily important to win overall because we've got the class win, but it's always nice to be first on the road. So we managed to overtake him with about 3 or 4 laps to go, I think. So
is that it for the year now for you then, Scott?
I think I need to do the maths and just double check it, but I think that should have got us the championship now. So hopefully I'll do the maths and then we'll make sure we're in the right place first before we smile too much.
And will that be a relief, or will you be thinking you'll be missing it?
It's always good to get the job done early, isn't it? You know, but at least if that is the case, we don't need to worry. We can either do the last meeting and enjoy it, or sit it out and stay at home type thing. But we do the maths and go from there.
Well, have a fantastic rest of the evening. I know that I'm kind of interrupting your beer time, as you said, so I better let you go and celebrate in style.
That's lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
So, David, you're back again. You have to stop being so good, otherwise I'm going to have to keep interviewing you all the time.
Yeah, I hate this part.
So, you had some quite ambitious goals for the day today, didn't you?
Yeah.
But you have actually managed to achieve what you set out to do. So, tell us what you were aiming for.
To regain second place, I needed 2 poles, 2 wins, 2 fastest laps. Which, as you say, I've achieved today. So
well done.
Thank you. Yeah, and so provisionally, I'm second place going into Brands, which is the final round.
So overall, it is now time for you to go and celebrate a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I've started that already.
I can see your teammate hovering in the background with a pint waiting for you.
Yeah, that's right. That's why this is going to be the quickest interview.
But you must be really chuffed with the day.
I'm pleased. Yeah, I know how John Langridge feels now. So thank you, John, for not racing. I think it's given me a chance. I needed the points. If John had been racing, or if I hadn't achieved the wins, then I would not have gained second place back into the final round. So yeah, I'm pleased. It's been a good day.
Well, well done you, and go and enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, David. So Pete Daniels joining me now. You have the biggest team as well, don't you? And you've just been racing and came third, so overall, good day.
Yeah, it was a good day. I mean, we had a bit of a few accident damages in the STs, but there again, when they're all at the front, you're going to get that sort of problem. But it's the first time out today in the Class D car, and we only finished building it last night.
Wow.
I took the first race a little bit easy. Then in the second one, I thought it was time we had a go. But I think we were about half a gallon short of fuel, and we got a lot of fuel surge. But, you know, first time out for the car, an old boy like me, I haven't been out for 2 years. So, you know, we're all happy. The car's in one bit, and I'm very happy. And I know we will progress with the car, and the car will get a lot quicker. And I think next year we should get half a dozen cars out there, and it'll be another class, and you know, another step in the championship.
Right, it sounds good. So you're going to go and celebrate later on now?
Probably, yeah. I need something. Thank you.
Congratulations, thanks. Well, it's been a day of action, drama and challenges out there on the track here at Liddon Hill. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. See you again soon.